What's up, Les? I'm doing another Wesker guide, and first of all, I just wanted to say thank you for how well that video has done. 11,000 views to me is the best video on my channel, and I'm greatly appreciative of that. I had a goal to hit 500 subs by the end of the year, and we're already at 430, and that's just crazy to me. So thank you very much. Um, but that video, I hate it. I really hate it, and I'm gonna leave it up just if people want to reference it or they maybe have it in their save watch or watch later, whatever. Um, the thumbnail was ass, right? The Back then I was working 12 to 12, and I really didn't have much time to do YouTube, and I was kind of at a point where like I was uploading quite often and it was getting a little bit of attention. So I was like, and then just like a random Monday, behaviors like, or I think the DVD leaks was like, oh yeah, Wesker's coming to 2v8 in 3 days. Like, what the fuck? Okay. I guess I'm just gonna have to rush out a Wesker guide. And so I was up till 5 a.m. recording that, and then the next day, I was up till 5 a.m. editing that, and it shows. It really does show. I had like no energy. Um, I sound tired as fuck, and that's why I wanted to remake the guide, because I feel like I could put way more effort into it, and ultimately, I think people wanting to learn Wesker should, if they want to click on my video, they should probably have something better to work off of. I will have a bunch of chapters about different texts, Wesker texts, different his add-ons, builds, etc. Timestamps will all be down in the description. It'll also show up in the YouTube play bar. So if you're on your TV, you can just click up and it'll show you a bunch of chapters. You can scroll through them. So it's, to start out, I like to practice in custom games. You're going to want this build, Eerie Vial, leather gloves, cut coin. I like cut coin because it will distance out the spray boxes, so the bots are less likely to spray, and because they're automatically infected, that will reduce your charge time, and because we don't have a sandbox mode still, and behavior forces you to put bots into custom games, you pretty much have to run cut coin to keep iridescent vial up. Whatever, it's doesn't really matter. Corrupt intervention will block 3 gens at least. All of these perks are just to delay how long the bots can escape. And then you want to give them no mither. I don't know if it's saved because they updated the whole. Okay, it did save. So yeah, you want to give the bots no mither to activate Thanatophobia. And the game, or Gideon Meat Plant, first page down in the right corner, you're going to want that because I think that is the best map to practice on, and I'll see you there. Alright, so now that we're in Gideon's, you want to go to the top floor and try to find a box like I do. Really, just because of how many boxes there are. Wow. I've never seen that closed. Huh. Oh, that's awesome. As I was saying, let's find a good square box. Something like this. So, with hug text, right? You are basically tricking the game into thinking that you are going forward while you're carrying your momentum. Wesker has no horizontal momentum check, and unlike Blight, where Blight has control over his movement, Wesker just goes in a straight line, right? Wesker just goes in a straight line. They had no idea to even code a horizontal momentum check, and now that if they try to do that, it will literally fucking break Wesker. I do not think they'll remove hug text. If they somehow do, I probably will stop playing this killer. I'm not gonna lie. So, you basically have to make sure that in the line that you are trying to hug tech, you want to make sure that there is nothing in the way, right? So if I were to hug this, there's nothing in the way. His first bound is about 7 meters, so it'll land me just about here, maybe. And as you can see, there's nothing in the way. Now, if I were to do this, see how I bumped there? It's because the game thinks that I am colliding with this box right here. And so you basically have to make sure there's nothing in the way. You have to make sure that you have at least a flat or a forward curve around an object. So there's a box over here somewhere. Can't remember where it is. Right here. If I were to, let's say, hug this, see how I bumped back? Because the game wants to push me forward, but this box is pulling me back, and so it's just going to reject me back to the way that I came. So now the easiest way, I think, to learn Wesker hug techs is try to line yourself up, at least your camera, with the box. And then you're just going to want to inch your way across until you're perpendicular with the box. Angle your camera just a little bit, just about 1 o'clock. And then you're going to hold power and press D and W. And then, at least on controller, about 3 o'clock, push your stick. And so you're going to feel your character momentum let go, right? You're going to have resistance against the box, and then you're going to feel your character let go. And so at that point, you want to hug. So, as I said, you want to make sure that you're perpendicular with the box, line your camera up, look a little bit over to the right. And so this is going to give you friction as you're going across, and then you're going to feel your character go. And I think that is the best way to learn hug techs. Alright, so I just had to reload another custom game because the bots were about to escape. We covered hug techs. One of my favorite spots that is boarded up is right here. So this corner you can hug, and if you are on a lower FPS than I am, I'm just playing on 120 to make it a little bit easier. You end up right here, and anybody camping the pallet gets grabbed. Just like that. That's a really good spot. And I really wanted to talk about another Wesker tech called the skinny bert. So right here is a great spot. Effectively what a skinny bert is that you are trying to trick the game into thinking that your collision box has already been triggered. Wesker technically has like 2 collision boxes, if that makes more sense. He has the initial one that the game thinks is going to happen, and then he has his active collision box, right? So if you were to do a second bound right here, right about here, the game thinks that you are going to collide here, so it turns off your active collision box. Like, it thinks that you're going to collide here, turns off your active collision box, so it will make you slide across and land right about here. Just like that. Another really good spot that for some reason is boarded up is this. And sometimes you land in the pallet. I don't really understand what the difference there is. Wesker skinny bert techs are a little bit harder to pull off. Just because it's kind of lining up rather than actual skill. You know, you're kind of making sure that you're hitting all the boxes. So one thing that I love to do is called an escape tech. An escape tech will lag your FPS just a little bit, and it won't actually grab a survivor. It's not like an F11 tech, but it'll lag your FPS a little bit, and it'll allow you to cover holes in the ground, or maybe just cover a lot of distance in the air. And so one of my favorite spots is covering this gap. So basically you want to be just about, if you're looking out, you just want to be just about enough so that you can see when the paint stops right at the bottom of the screen. And then you just get across. So to get the timing down for an escape tech, I think it's best to work on the stairs. You want to be just about, as you can see, Wesker's 1 meter distance away from an object, turns off his bound. This is pretty intentional. I really don't know the reason behind it, but Wesker has a certain distance that he cannot bound, just like Kaneki can't. So you want to have about 2 or 3 meters of distance away. You bound, and then you wait until you're over the ledge or in air to hit escape. As you can see, it doesn't really get you much distance here, but rather something like this. As you can see, I'm just about 2 or 3 meters away, and it lands me right here when that bound might get me to the bottom of the stairs. Who knows? So one thing that I like to do on like big staircases like this is to escape tech down. And so pretty much you want just about the right distance, and there is an invisible wall somewhere, but you pretty much bound, and as you're about to hit the ledge right about here, right at the top of the stairs, you want to escape, and it'll send you flying mid-air, but there's like an invisible wall right here. Now that we're on RPD, this top of these 2 staircases are perfect for escape techs. So now what an escape tech does is that, of course, we're just about a few meters away from the edge, and we're gonna press M1, and then this one's a little bit trickier, but you can get the maximum distance. It's just like a little bit of a, there we go. It's just a little bit trickier on the left side, but it'll send you flying. If survivors, pre-run from that gen, it gives you much more distance to catch them. So now for the other side, you just want to be about a meter away. And I fucking missed. You're holding your bound, and as soon as you feel like you are over the steps, then you want to press escape. Just like that, and it gets you plenty of distance. This one is much more consistent than the other staircase. This spot is more fun than anything, and it just gets you out of the map. Yeah, it just gets you out of the map. There's really nothing to it, and it just spits you back out. That one actually, I feel like if you fall in the right place, it sends you back to like the middle of the map. I didn't get the right seed. Whoops. I think I went west instead of east. Yeah, I went west instead of east. But this back staircase by the helipad, you can do an escape tech on, and it'll land you right about before the door. Another escape tech on this map at least. This one's a little bit harder to do because you're basically doing a skinny bert and an escape tech. So you want your collision box to activate on this corner, and it'll send you straight down right in the path. Rather than having to deal with this staircase, you can literally just, and it'll send you down easy. I love that spot. This one is a little bit harder to do. But it gets you a little bit extra distance. If you were to use this in like a real game, gets you a little bit of extra distance. Other than that, not very useful. So one of the major things with Wesker is that he has the ability to turn his camera mid-bound. So let's say, see, I can turn my camera mid-bound, and this allows me to position survivors into a corner of the map where if, let's say, they're running from logs, they're running through here, and I catch them right here. Are you going to want to slam them, if they were healthy, slam them into the 4 lane, or do you want to turn your camera to hopefully get a throw into middle of nowhere, right? So basically, you want to make sure that you are turning your camera. If I were, like, let's just say, try to grab him here, and I grab him right here, I can maybe get a throw on the Z wall. I can maybe get a throw here. Or I can maybe get a throw on this piece of junk in the corner. You really have to pay attention to the surroundings behind the survivor rather than what's around the survivor at the moment. Something like if I were to catch a survivor at shack, you know, do I want to hit them into shack, or do I maybe want to get them and throw them into that wall right there? Another thing, when survivors are running out in the open, you want to make sure that you don't move your camera. Literally just wait for them to run in front of you, and at the right time to throw them into, you want to wait for the right time to throw them into an object. So right here, if I had a survivor just running in front of me, trying to make me miss, I am going to wait for them to line up with that tractor right at the bottom of my screen, and I want to try to get a throw there. This is right about the perfect throw distance. As you play more Wesker, you'll understand his throw distance. It's pretty much just like a second regular bound. Yeah, his slam distance is like 14 meters, and then his throw distance is about 8 to 10 meters. So like I said, as you play more Wesker, you're going to understand the distance to throw people, and I think you really have to pay attention to the surroundings. You know, if I'm looking to throw somebody edge map here, am I going to want to throw them into this tree, or am I going to want to take a little bit of a wider angle to throw them into the wall? So another commonly used Wesker tech is called the rebound, and it essentially you are using your first bound to get around a loop, and so this is a perfect spot that I really don't get that much anymore, but essentially you are trying to line up the distance to where the end of your bound still has like a momentum slope, and so you're trying to use up the end of your bound in order to basically glide off of a wall, and then you can use your second bound to hit somebody. And so it takes a little bit of practice. You kind of have to know your first bound distance, and so like you're basically, it's much better with egg because egg increases the chain window while also increasing the window of momentum you get from this end of your first bound technically. So you pretty much have to bound in and then turn your camera around while you are riding the wall, and then you can line up a really nice second bound. Because these boxes are here, it's much easier. As you can see, you get so much distance. That's kind of a skinny bert, but you're not really sliding between anything. You're kind of just activating the active hitbox. But yeah, awesome tech that you use quite a bit. Another spot that I like on Wesker is this one. It's a little bit harder to use just because this wall is right here, or this like door is open. But actually, a good hug tech spot. Even though, you know, this door, if it's open and the pallet is here, you can hug on this, and it gets you pretty far. But while I'm on the topic of rebounds, I wanted to talk about bump bounds. I don't really have a name for it, but with bump bounds, so let's say that somebody is running this whole W of death, right? They just took this window, and you're right about here, and you just go boom, boom, and hit them, right? Effectively, you are using your first bound to bounce off of something, and as soon as you hit something with your first bound, you are able to chain a second bound. Just like that. So really, you are effectively you are trying to cut your first bound short in order to use your second bound, and it doesn't, like, give you extra momentum like Kaneki would. I know his slingshot gives him way more momentum, but it doesn't give him extra distance. With Wesker, you don't really get more momentum, but pretty much you're using objects close to you that you would bounce off of, just like a rebound, but you're not really... It's kind of in the middle of your first bound, and so it's going to give you extra distance to bounce off of something and hit your second bound. So now, to learn insta-hugs, you're going to want to put on the RPD shoulder walkie. It's a brown add-on. So what this does is it takes Wesker's initial bound of 7 meters and decreases it by 20%. His active bound time will be 0.4 seconds instead of 0.5. And your second bound is 1.2 seconds instead of 1. Just like that is how you do insta hugs. You got to make sure that you are right on the corner where you think you would hug, where you would initiate the hug, really. So honestly, I think the best map to practice insta hugs is on Haddonfield. A lot of the cars have like very small corners that are very easy to get the insta hug down. It's a very distinct corner. You know, if I were to, like... just like that. So basically, you want to find the corner that you would normally hug. So you kind of want to find exactly where your 1 meter of distance kicks in. So, like, right about here. So I want to find that corner. Ironically, I can bound right here. But you want to find that corner, and if you're using walkie, there's a really simple trick where you just start charging your bound and hold S or pull back on your joystick and then let it go just a little bit longer. If you did not know, the walkie add-on makes your first bound 0.4 seconds, and so 20% shorter, or 7 times 0.8 is 5.4. And so when Wesker is charging his power, he moves 3.68 meters per second over 1.5 seconds. So basically, you pretty much cover the exact distance of your first bound while charging your power. And you also have to account for the little speed burst that you get when you finish your first bound. I was talking about that with rebounds. But yeah, I'm not the best at insta hugs. I don't really go for them often. This one, I was kind of like bumping into that brown car, but I'll see if I can hit it. There we go. Unk not washed. See, like, they're really easy to do in practice. And especially on 120, I feel like they're the easiest, but after a certain point... What the fuck? Okay, that looks weird. Keep fucking up. I'm not holding it long enough. That's the other thing. Once you're able to bound, like if I were to just bound as soon as I can, obviously I bounce off. So you have to wait just a little bit, like I said, to account for that speed distance. And you can really just spam M1, right? You can really just spam charge bound, or at least to send bound, like I did, but I missed. Once you practice them more, like obviously I don't practice them, I don't even go for them in game, and I'm pretty fucking ass at them, but if you put in like an hour to practice them, I feel like you can hit them reliably in game. This next tech is very situational. It really only works on Pale Rose Hills, which I don't even know if one spawned. Here we go. There we go. Okay. It's very odd. I don't remember how exactly this works, but basically you can... slide off this, and it... So, like, this has a solid hitbox, right? This rock has a solid hitbox, but it doesn't initiate Wesker's collision box until you come to the backside. So, I wonder if it works better on lower FPS. I've never tried this before. I'm gonna do... Oh my god, that looks awful. No. It doesn't go farther. But that's like a super situational thing on Felrose. I don't think Grim Pantry spawns hills anymore. You can get really lucky with the main, like the main hill spawn, but yeah, it's kind of like a hill hug, I guess. What else? What else? Ah, you can do escape text. I guess I'm just showing off swamp. You can do escape text off of these. And it'll like launch you out here in case there's like a window, at least on the other side, I think. Yeah, on this side, if there's a window, you can just do escape tag. Boom, land right at the window. So one little thing with Batum that I think is technically a skinny bert, is getting over the hole in main building or the preschool. There we go. I thought they patched it. I guess I just had the wrong angle. I don't know. But basically, you pretty much just like bound into the wall here, and it skirts you over. I kind of failed there. Wesker's been really laggy recently, so like textures don't look as smooth as they used to. If that makes sense. And stuff like that. Just like really strange. I don't know. But yeah, I was talking about these cars. These cars have super wide hitboxes, as you can see. That car, that right there. So these cars are a little bit of a pain in the ass. Never mind. So next up, I wanted to talk about some of the builds that I run. First off, I have like a sweat build that you can swap out for anything. But right now I'm testing out a totem build on Wesker, giving them a little bit of an extra side objective aside from spraying and disinfecting your passive infection. So you got Hex Rune, Blood Favor, Thrill of the Hunt, and Brutal Strength. I run Brutal Strength on pretty much every build, I think. It's way too much value on Wesker not to use. And then I just have Egg and Leather Gloves. Overall, you can probably run like Corrupt, Pain Res, Pop, or Eruption with Brutal Strength. But then my anti-heal build, I have VCD, or Video Conference Device, Leather Gloves, Corrupt, Brutal, Leverage, and Coulrophobia. This one is really good when I see like 3 or 4 medkits in the starting lobby, and I'll swap over to this. Usually decimates, and having Leverage, Coulrophobia, and VCD actually gives you like so much control, and survivors are usually injured the entire game. Next up, my chill build, which is what I normally run, especially when I'm trying to clip farm. I got Leather Gloves, Walkie, and then 4 Scorch Hook perks. Gift of Pain, Jagged Compass, Pain Res, and Floods of Rage is really good. You could run the newly buffed Hangman's Trick for Floods of Rage. I actually find Hangman's Trick works really well in this build, especially with Jagged Compass. But yeah, overall, this is what I normally run. And then for Ear Vial, I already made a video about this, but you should definitely go watch that anyways. Iridescent Ouroboros Vial, Leather Gloves, Thrilling Tremors, Pain Res, Agi, and Hangman's Trick. I love this combination of Thrilling Tremors and Hangman's Trick because it basically tells me where somebody is and gives me a little bit of aura reading. Next up, I have Lab Photo and Thwack. I kind of use this as if I'm getting a bunch of bad maps, like, you know, one time I got Rotten Fields, and then I got like Grim Pantry, and then I think I got Toba back to back. So I love to use that build when I'm getting those really bad maps. It, of course, has Lab Photo, and I use Chalice. Now, with Chalice, Chalice is really good at putting survivors into a corner and wasting their speed burst. Like, let's say on a map like Toba, where there's not many openings, but you can grab somebody and throw them into the edge of the map, and they really only have one place to run, and it's pretty weak. That can be really good. Now, of course, the whack, ever since I buffed it, I've been loving it with lab photo, and Forever Entwined has been fixed to where it no longer just gives Wesker a super buff. It would like increase your charge speed, pulling up your power, putting away your power, and then also all of the end animations, whether it be letting your bound window run out or hitting a survivor, throwing a survivor, whatever. Forever Entwined used to be super bugged, and I made a video about it. You should also go watch that. Wesker has 2 S tier perks. I'm not sure I can put a card up just because how old the video is. And then Human Greed. I really only run Human Greed because I have a bunch of Screech Cobblers on my Wesker, which creates an extra chest, which gives me at least four chests to get or reading off of Human Greed. It's great passive value, and the kick ability actually has some pretty good use, I would say. If you have a chest that's sitting at like a main building and somebody opens it, of course, kicking that closed and getting aura reading again is pretty damn nice. And then last up, Oppression, just to, because I have no gen slowdown, just getting extra passive regression is pretty nice. Finally, I have a Jewel Beetle throw build. I don't use this much because Jewel Beetle is disgustingly broken. Obviously, you're going to have Lion Medallion, Jewel Beetle. So this increases the throw range from 8 meters to like 10.7, I think it's. And then the Jewel Beetle will decrease your slam distance from 14 meters to 7. So basically, you go 7 meters, you throw them 10.7 rather than going 14 and throwing them for 8. First off, you have Blood Favor, so that when you throw somebody, any pallet in the area that they run to is going to be blocked. And to keep Blood Favor alive for a little bit longer, you have Undying. And I like No Way Out just because the next perk is really good synergy-wise. So No Way Out is going to block the exit gates, of course, after they interact with them. And typically I can find all 4 survivors before the end game. And then coup de grace. I think coup de grace really ties this all together so that you have longer lunges. Even, you know, somehow you throw somebody, they'll have a window to run to. Coup de grace gives you that extra distance, especially because Lion Medallion might throw somebody a little bit further than you actually want them to. But that's all my builds. That was only 6, but I do have a 7th open for build requests if you ever tune into my Twitch at twitch.tv/Wesker with a 3. That'd be awesome if you could go follow. Lastly, to go over all of Wesker's add-ons, starting off with the best, Iridescent Ouroboros Vial. Like I said, starts every survivor infected, and once they reach the maximum infection, they're exposed for a short duration. Ultimately, I think this is like way too strong. They should just remove the exposed effect from it. But this is really good because every survivor infected gives you a half-second total off of your power charge. So if you have 4 survivors infected, that's 9 seconds. With gloves, that brings you down to a 8.1 seconds. The lab photo add-on breaks pallets instead of vaulting them. You can also break walls. But basically this is really good for zoning, and ultimately just it kind of makes up the weakest point in Wesker's kit, which with the way that survivors play right now is kind of a glaring issue with Wesker. Dark Sunglasses gives you undetectable anytime a survivor is fully infected, and this, I feel like it doesn't last that long, but it is really nice, and passively I think this could get you a really impactful hit every so often. And that being said, I wouldn't run this all the time. It is nice in a gimmick build, and occasionally I'll throw it on. Green Herb is deceptively probably one of Wesker's worst add-ons if it wasn't for the loose crank. When you grab a survivor, I believe you give them 20, if not 25 charges of infection, and so this will increase that by 30%. So you give them an extra like 6 charges. The other passive gain rate add-on, or just infection rate add-on, is called Video Conference Device, which just automatically gives them 30% extra infection. You don't have to grab them, it just happens. This gives them an extra 6 charges. This brings their full infection down by like 30 seconds. I don't know why this is a purple. Honestly, if I think it's just in a really bad state, where if you make it like, let's say 100%, where it would be 40 charges per grab, you could continuously just throw somebody into a dead zone and then eventually grab them when they become fully infected, which is kind of busted. And so I think this add-on just has to stay bad for the time being until they can rework it into something else. Helicopter stick is pretty damn good, I would say. If you're playing against good survivors, most of the time they will just stand still during the killer instinct that appears after they have sprayed. But getting that extra like 3 or 4 seconds of aura reading after the killer instinct is really nice to see where they're going. Other than that, I think the next add-on is way better if you want aura reading on Wesker. Ouroboros virus, anytime a survivor reaches full infection, you see their aura for 4 seconds. This is really nice, and it ultimately sometimes will get you full infection hits, which can change the tide of the game. But I wouldn't, just like sunglasses, I wouldn't recommend using it a lot. If anything, using them together is the best way to get value out of these add-ons, and it typically will win you the game, but it's hit or miss. Now, egg increases the window between bounds from 2 seconds to 3 seconds. Adding that extra second allows you to not only move more and line up a bound, of course, but this also means that you have more reaction time if you were going to Skywesker or escape tech off of a ledge. Anytime you escape tech, that time in the escape counts towards your bound window, and the second that you escape actually starts the bound window, if you did not know. So you hit escape like 0.2 seconds after bounding. Well, you miss out on that extra 0.3 seconds of your first bound. So it starts the timer early, and so when you hit the ground, you have a split second to react and to hit your second bound. It's also really good to line up a hug tech if you are trying to do that. Getting that extra second while trying to hug tech can give you an extra attempt to hit the hug tech. Maid Medallion is Wesker's only blindness add-on, and it's pretty bad. Their circumstance for this to activate is pretty terrible, and any full infected add-on has way more value. Dark Sunglasses undetectable is insane on Wesker, especially because he has a 40-meter tear radius. Getting aura reading on somebody one shot to your power is insane. Blindness, it really, who cares? And it's 60 seconds. It's not even like after they spray they're blind for 60 seconds. It's just when they hit fully infected. Next up, Portable Safe is pretty damn good, but I think you have to make an entire build around it. There is a slugging build that I used to run just to warm up on Wesker, and that was really good. It basically allows you to continuously, or just keep people injured in general, and you basically have to pair this add-on with a anti-healing perk. Like, leverage is really good if you can interrupt the heal, making that heal off hook take longer, and Portable Safe will regress that heal. Very situational, but when you get value, it does come through. Red Herb, I don't really know why this is an add-on. Just increasing the time that it takes for a survivor to spray. Doesn't really do anything, and you don't really notice it. It's whatever. If you want to use it, go ahead. Nobody's going to stop you. I already talked about VCD, but this will increase their passive charge rate from 0.8 charges per second to 1.1 or 1.2. Basically, how the math works is that you get 0.8 charges every second, and once you reach 100 charges, you become fully infected, which spans the time of 2 minutes. VCD basically bumps that down to 86 or 90. I can't remember the exact number. Really good for getting more pressure out of your passive infection since they nerfed it last summer. Bullhorn is really good with some terror radius trickery. Ultimately, I think this just doesn't last long enough to actually act on it. When you really think about the amount of time that you can act on the Oblivious, it kind of puts into a perspective that this add-on is a little bit useless. You got to think about the first like 3 seconds you're going to react to the Killer Instinct. You might be doing something. You might be carrying a survivor. You might be kicking a gen or a pallet. And the Killer Instinct might not be in your screen. So you got to turn around, look at the Killer Instinct, pull up your power, bound over, go through your bound or like your bound exit, and then wait for your power to recharge. And by then, you might have 10 seconds left of Oblivious that you can actually act on, get a jump on the survivor. Ultimately, if this was like 45 or 60 seconds, it would be worth using, but it is pretty nice to just throw in your build every now and then. It's up to you. Chalice I already talked about, but this is great for confirming a health state if you are having a hard time. Maybe you're just throwing people out into the open a lot. This will not exactly guarantee, but it will increase your chances tenfold to get a health state every time you grab a survivor. Gloves, just overall flat 8% off of your recharge time. Currently, Wesker's base recharge is 11 seconds. As I mentioned, every infection is half a second, and leather gloves is 0.88 seconds. So at base, leather gloves will drop it to 10.12. Really nice. It is noticeable. I do feel it, and I kind of complain anytime I don't use this add-on because it just feels so nice. And I have a certain rhythm down to actually like queue up my power. It gets to a point where like I can literally tell if I'm so locked in and I miss somebody's spray and I click my power too early and there's just like a sliver left before I get my second charge. I'm like, who sprayed? When did they spray? And I'm like, oh yeah, that person sprayed. Having this add-on just kind of makes up for that. But overall, leather gloves, you probably always want to be using this. Lion Medallion, as I said before, increases your throw distance by about 2.5 to 3 meters. Overall, pretty good. Like I said, using in combination with Drill Beetle is the best go-to use case. And now easily the statistically worst add-on probably in the game. Loose Crank increases the movement speed while in your bound window that egg affects. This will increase your movement speed from 2.76 to like 2.92, I believe is the right numbers. But overall, in the 2 seconds of your bound window, this gives you 0.32 meters. This genuinely does not make a difference. And on top of that, as I said with rebounds, egg increases the momentum slide that you get exiting your first bound. That extra distance from egg has been found to actually have more distance than Loose Crank gives you. Do not use this add-on. If you want to have a faster movement speed between bounds in your bound window, just use egg. I don't know why this thing exists. I think behavior just doesn't know what to do with it. I've already gone over how to fix Loose Crank, or at least rework it into something else. But yeah, this add-on, do not use it. It fucking sucks. Jewel Beetle, I'm pretty sure they designed it to be the meme add-on, but it's actually like a top 10 add-on in the game. In my opinion, top 5, but if you don't have this in your top 10, what are you smoking? This thing basically 2-taps any survivor consistently. Being able to throw somebody anywhere is just so insane. A throw on Wesker basically means that that survivor, while they're recovering from getting hit, you're already starting your end animation, and so you can hit them faster, you can pull up your power faster, your power recharges faster. Everything about a throw is just better for Wesker. You're better off getting a throw than a slam, and also a slap if they're getting out of a locker, saving a teammate, going through a window,
whatever. A slap, if I had to rank them, it would be slam, slap, and throw in order of usefulness from least to greatest. And Jewel Beetle basically just, it's just so strong that it's really like kind of unfair, I think. RPD Shoulder Walkie is the Hug Tech add-on, like I said, and this does give you a little bit of extra distance, but that's not what you should be using it for. And finally, for Unicorn Medallion, I think if you are trying to get into Wesker, I would suggest you don't use this. If you like using it and it feels good to you, all the power to you. Don't listen to me. But I think if you are trying to get better at Wesker, that extra distance you get on your first bound, you will notice it as soon as you take this add-on off. The second you stop using this add-on, you will want to throw it back on. I used to be just like you. I used to use this all the time, and then I stopped using it because I wanted to try other stuff when I was first getting into Wesker. I was like, holy fuck, this sucks. I should probably stop using this add-on. It's kind of like, not even a crutch, it's like an addiction. You know, you basically are kind of addicted to using Unicorn Medallion in a way. And it pretty much is kind of you really have to like rewire the way you play Wesker anytime you're not using Unicorn Medallion and you're used to using it. But like I always recommend, if you're just a casual player that likes to pick up Wesker every now and again, use Unicorn Medallion. Please just use Unicorn Medallion and like gloves or Jewel Beetle or whatever. Unicorn Medallion, if you are an ultra casual player not trying to master or like main Wesker, just use this. Enough said. But Ouroboros Tendril, let me do some quick math. So Ouroboros Tendril will increase Wesker's walking movement speed while holding his bound from 3.68 to 3.864. This isn't very noticeable, but then again, losing less distance while holding your bound is always a net positive. I don't really see anything wrong with using Tendril. It's kind of just a nice thing there. I wouldn't put it on the same level as gloves, but if you want to use it, definitely recommend. And that's about it. If you have any questions, if you feel like I didn't cover something well enough, let me know in the comments. I will try to explain as the best as I can. Yeah, thanks for watching. I really hope that this does as well as the first one, if not better. Let me know what you guys think. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you later.